What's going on, people? This is Shy Harris, and this is
Cleanthes.
the Createaholics video series.
Yeah, it's
Video
series.
video series. Yeah. Before on our first episode, we didn't have a title, but now we do. So I feel like the first episode was a great episode where we talked to Jared Beasley about his uniqueness and love for donuts and being a creative and all that.
Yeah.
But today is just us two, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we could actually just kind of talk about. Do you think we should do like a little quick deep dive into like who we are, and just so people are?
Yeah, that's cool. Well, why don't you start?
Okay, so just I guess long story short is, I'm a marketing strategist moonlighting as a creative right now. So I own a digital media marketing company called the Rub Society, where I do mostly commercials and social media management, looking to expand in the next year. But right now it's mostly content creation and social media management. Got my start by working campaigns for different like local music artists in the area. We're in Virginia, so I work with artists in, pretty much Richmond, Northern Virginia, 757, all over. Pretty much did all their digital when having your music and songs on blogs was like a major thing. I was probably like one of the first people to kind of incorporate regular business strategies into music marketing. I had like a crazy email list back in like 2006 when pretty much nobody was online for real. So that's kind of how I got my name. And then sooner or later, I realized that the same things I'm doing for music artists could also translate over to just regular businesses. And a lot of businesses didn't have a social media presence. I knew how to kind of build those up pretty quickly and efficiently. So kind of just transition over to that. And then I've been full-time with doing that for the past 2.5 years, and kind of been, it's been a journey, but I'm learning as I go. I got, Carl here that's kind of like been helping me along this path for the past, couple months. And just looking to kind of grow and expand and actually scale. I really want to have the greatest digital media marketing agency in Virginia, but also the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey.
so.
Well, if you find your lane and you can flex in that lane, because like being the overall greatest, like that doesn't necessarily, I kind of had that thought for a long while too, and I'll get into me about a little more, but yeah, it's more like figuring out like what exactly your lane is, like where can Shad and the Rebel Society do that? How can you own it, right?
Right.
Because you can't own the whole thing.
True.
And you don't want to.
True.
Like do you want like 500 employees and like a whole bunch of assholes and shit blowing up all the time? Like you don't want that.
I want like a strong 50 though.
Yeah, okay. So with a strong 50, you can't be the greatest in the world at the whole big picture, right?
Right.
Like you can't be Lippincott or like all these other, but you can be in your lane. You can dominate in your lane where people can't touch, or Lippincott or whoever can't touch
Waddell and Kennedy and all those, yeah.
So definitely great aspirations there. So, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Because I struggle with that same thing myself. But anyways, I'm Carl Cleanthes. I own EpicMade. We've been in business I started my first, failed idea, if you will, in 2003, rebooted kind of a little bit in 2005, and then 2006 went full strength into doing this and like really started the business and got my EIN straight and all the technical business side of stuff. But my background's been in just creativity. I studied graphic design, illustration, that kind of stuff at ODU. And then I started my business right in school. I mean, you know the story a little more. We did like a full dive a couple months ago. But, I built the business up over the years and, trying to find our lane and figure out like, hey, what really inspires me? We can do logos for anybody. We can do design for anybody. We can do anything for anybody in the creative side, right? But like when you start to get out of like what you're really passionate about in the industries you really know, I find that like at least with me and my team, like we can struggle to execute more, and it's more work to do the exact same deliverable in an industry I'm not familiar with, right?
Gotcha.
Like if it's like I don't know. There's a whole host of them, but when we're in our lane, when we're working on like highly creative things, really avant-garde ideas, like trying to stretch like the normal box, working on like fantasy stuff, illustration
Right.
stuff, animation stuff. Like we got that. We crush that all the time. So
Okay.
trying to just stay in our lane, I think, is really been my struggle as we've grown.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been cool. So we grew from just me being the graphic designer / creative guy / bookkeeper / all those things into we have different departments now.
Right.
Actually, people that head each department. And all the different stuff, and now I just focus mostly on sales and creative direction.
Okay.
And then the business vision side, making sure that I know what that is.
Gotcha.
And that we can all get behind that same vision. So.
Okay. So originally, when we said what we're going to talk about today, we said we were going to talk about I guess struggles with being an entrepreneur or creative, but in the past 2 or 3 minutes, I feel like we should talk about finding your lane.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about.
Yeah. I feel like you said it like 6 times right then. So.
Yeah. So what that looks like for me, the first time I felt like, oh my God, this is my lane, right? So we've been doing graphic design for everybody and all kinds of stuff, and we're hustling, and it felt like work, like it was my work. I owned it. I got to get up and like I was at the office, 7 o'clock in the morning, grinding until 7, 10, 8. Well, I saw some posts on Facebook the other day. It's like just pulled a 22-hour shift. Like I used to do that all the time, like at least a couple times.
I feel like I do that now.
Yeah, and it's stupid, right? Like because you're not. There's like at least 8 hours of that productivity that is like you could have done in 2.
Yeah.
If you were fresh.
Yeah.
But sometimes like that's the card you have. Like you don't have the money to pull in somebody to do that, and the shit got done, and so it's that juggle, right? And like when I'm 25 and 24, like I can do that.
Right.
But like now I have a 7-year-old, I'm 33 years old. Like I have to spend time with my wife. Like you have to nurture things. But if I want my relationship with my wife and my son and all that to be healthy. So anyways. You got to put that time in. But
so what did your life?
So when I found my lane, right? Okay, so the first time I had a client hire us.
Actually, not to cut you off, what was life like before that?
Yeah. So the life was just like it was a lot of hustle. Not that it's not. Still, like we still work really hard. We still have long days. But like we're not completely in our lane. Like we're still trying to get there, but I know where it is.
Right.
So I had a company come to me and hire us to do, I want to say 40 illustrations for a fantasy tabletop card game. And the game is called Topex Dominions. You guys got to check it out. It's really badass.
I feel like I need to go and find that.
It's from a company called Space Monkeys Down. AJ and Jenna, local couple, doing a little startup, and they came to us with all of this lore and like all these ideas written out. They built out their whole universe. And it was just like, here's a Word document for each one of these illustrations we need you to do. And it was like 2 different factions, Haslathi but one of them was like a steampunk, like tech-based race of people, you know what I mean? And they had all these machines and steampunky stuff, and like the other one was like this tribal magical, but like I found that this was my lane when I'm sitting down with Ross. And we're like 3 hours into this creative direction meeting, talking about all these different pieces, and like, so I got my headset on, and I'm in my office, and me and Ross are talking. I'm just like, yeah. So what if the guy's down here and he's got like his hammer up like that, and the camera angles up, and he's like raging face, and I just realized like, holy shit, like this is not work at all. Like I would do this for fun on the weekend, right? So then I was like, oh my God, we're getting paid to do this, like. This is awesome, right? And I was like, this is our lane. Like, so ever since then, like at that point, I decided, like, I literally rebranded the business to EpicMade. We started incorporating all these like nature and fantasy things into our brand, and like, because I'm really trying to attract those type of people. Not that we can't work outside of that. Not that we don't. Not that there isn't a time and a place where like some, more square kind of brand would want those kind of assets. We're in. Let's do it. Like, but I wanted people to start seeing how we present ourselves in a way that like gets them excited about, oh cool, maybe we can have some of that magic in our brand. Right? That's how we can stand out in our industry. Nobody's doing that over here. We think people would resonate with that. So that's when I was like, all right, so let's put it out there, let's build it, and they've been coming. I've been failing, I think, in my mind, on the marketing side, like putting my message in front of the right people. Right. That's where I've been focusing a lot, and I'm like really excited about how do we make that work together.
Right.
The 2 of us.
So question. I
don't know if that answered your question.
It did. This is something that I'm trying to figure out myself right now. when you're trying to attract a certain niche, do you need to make sure your brand actually resonates with that niche?
So, like, in my mind, I try to put myself in the shoes of the buyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can do that fairly well, especially because I've worked with every industry.
Right.
I mean, pretty much. Like, I don't know, a lot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've got at least 400 plus clients that we've worked with in some capacity
Right.
over the decade or so. So, you know, thinking like, whenever someone's making a purchasing decision, right, they want to know that you understand them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the more that you can put that out there,
Mm-hmm.
the more that they can see you and go, oh, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
They know exactly what I want. Like,
Right.
They're doing it right here, right? Like, it helps close the deal.
Gotcha.
It helps them go, oh yeah, like by the time some people call me, like I had a lady call us one time to do a bunch of illustrations for her novel that was
Mhm.
about like a mad geneticist like gone crazy, and she needed like field illustrations and then really complicated detailed scenes, but then also like these field illustrations that were like line art and clean and simple. Like all we were discussing was the numbers, because she was all in before she picked up the phone and called me.
Okay.
Right, so like that's a powerful place to be. One, because if you're in your lane, like again, it's work, but it's like we're getting paid to do something we really enjoy. Like when we
Right,
put
right.
these pieces at the end, like I go, oh my god, this came from my studio. Like and I just cheese out, right? It's like, oh cool, we did this logo. Like there, it is. Like yeah, that's exciting, right? Like the first time I saw someone wearing a T-shirt that I designed that I had no idea who they were, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool. But like when you really finish a piece and like you can't wait to tell people about it and show it to people, that's like in your lane. That's when you're in your lane. When you're like, when you wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh, that would be so cool, and you write it down and like you put it in your phone, or you're like, that's in your lane, right? Like when you're like beating your head against the wall, like, how do I make this work? This sucks. Like this isn't fun. Like why did I take this project? Like that's not in your lane, right?
Right,
And we've all been there too.
Right.
Right. So and getting that,
I'm right there now.
that juggling, yeah, so me too sometimes, dude. It just depends. Like some projects just suck. So the struggle for me has always been, I know what I want to do, and I gotta pay these bills, and like these things, can I make them work towards that? Even though like it's mostly like, because there's still always that dichotomy of like, this is what we need to be working on, and these are the things that like are available to pay the bills.
Right.
Right, and just like making sure we're heading in the right direction, even though like sometimes we might take projects that are not exactly what we want to do. And not that they're bad projects or that we put out bad work, because we put out great work. We put our heart and soul and everything. But like, if you look at it from the financial side, like we're investing time and energy, and there is such a thing as a creative energy and a creative inspiration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can burn that out, like especially if you're not doing stuff that's really inspiring.
Yeah.
Like some people really, really love different aspects of every part of the puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a different flavor of ice cream for everybody, right?
Right.
Like some people can never eat too much pumpkin ice cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people it makes them like they don't want to bite, right? So like every aspect of our culture and business and life and humanity all functions the same sort of way.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, because this is something I'm actually going through right now, where it feels like, I know for the past couple of years, I felt like my creativeness was actually burnt out, like you just said, because I would put all my creative juices and energy into the simplest of projects. And then the people who were bringing me on, they was like, that was okay, but you know, I really just wanted something simple, like, right. So then I felt like I kind of like dumbed myself down to like, all right, well, if they just want something, if I'm working an event, instead of doing like a super creative recap, I'm gonna just do something basic, and I'm not doing the most.
Yeah.
And so now I'm trying to get into the mindset of going back to doing the most with everything, just to kind of, because it's not necessarily for the client now, it's for me. So did you ever like run into anything like that?
Sure. So that feeling is like getting punched in the gut.
Right.
Like when you come to the table with like, oh, we went all in on this.
Right.
We love this. I love this. Like this is exciting, and the client's like, you know, and you're just like, it's like. So
or they ask you to change something that completely messes with the whole flow, whole creative vision.
Yeah, that happened to us not too long ago, and we ended up going back to the client, saying, hey, look, we'll do what you want, but you guys hired us. We're a creative team, and you know, we could not, in good conscience, move forward without expressing this perspective, and the whole project stopped from there.
Really?
Yeah, and it kind of sucked, like, you know, and it was one of those things like, yeah, but it is what it is. Like, I'd rather the project like get the plug pulled on than my team work another month or two on this, and it's not anything anybody wants. Not they don't like it and we don't like it, right? So might as well stop right in the middle. Like, we hit a creative wall where we completely disagreed and we had to stop, and it sucked. Like that almost never happens, but it happened, right? So
is there a way around that?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay.
Setting like proper setting of expectations, really making sure that like we have like the scope very defined, and saying like, in this scope we are going for this type of execution, and having some sort of sample, be it like a little bit of spec work up front, or references or other things, like, hey, we're going exactly for this.
Right.
So I'm just making sure we're on the same page. But I mean, we always try to dot our I's and cross our T's, and sometimes like things just end up not being a good fit.
Right, because I actually just shot a music video. Like, I rarely shoot music videos, but probably about 8 times out of the year I'll get behind the camera and shoot something. But I shot a music video probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and the client, she's known to be a micromanager. But I told her at the beginning, like, hey, you bringing me into this, like, I need to have my creative vision. But she said, okay, well, that makes sense. But as soon as we started shooting, she's like, well, I want to shoot like this. I like, that doesn't make sense. Well, I just want to shoot it. And then when it came down to actually editing it, it was just a whole bunch of stuff that didn't make sense. And it looked crazy. So then I got to the point of just like, you know what? These are the changes that you want to make?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And
just
now
just get it off your plate.
Right. But now it seemed like she didn't like it. But I'm like, I did exactly what you wanted me to do.
Right.
But now it just looks terrible because you don't know what you want, or you don't know how to execute what you're looking for. I'm trying to tell you what you're looking for, or I'm trying to tell you how to pull it off. And now it just looks like a shit project. And I don't think she's put it out. But
right. And no one's excited about it, right? So,
right.
Like, you got to make sure. Sometimes it's just like when you're bringing, like when you're hiring a client, it's the same as like hiring someone to work in your team. Like,
right.
Sometimes your creative visions just don't line up.
True.
Right. Sometimes you have different experiences and different values that like it just doesn't mesh. You know, and like finding that out in the middle of a project sucks.
Very much so.
Alternatively to that, like whenever I'm going to bring somebody on and put them on retainer, like they're like, oh, we need a retainer, we need to do this, that, whatever. Like, we always start with one project, something small, something up front, and like so that we can go, hey, look, let's try to make sure this works before we get into a year agreement. That,
right.
Like, isn't going to work for anybody.
Right.
And
right.
so,
right.
We've done that a few times, so that's always a good thing. You asked me a question earlier, and I got off on a tangent. I forget.
I don't know.
It was talking about, like, you were talking about, balancing the music video with, like, your...
How to, it's something about staying in your lane. I don't know. It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
It'll come back to me. But as far as staying in your lane, matter of fact, I think it has something to do with how to... You're attracting your ideal clients by the type of work that you're putting out. So
right.
How does that normally work out for you guys? Is it just you guys putting out like your own original projects and people loving that, or?
So the advice I got from a friend of mine, he owns a prominent agency down the street, Drew. I asked him the same question, like, how do we get out there? Like, we're not doing exactly the type of work we want to do. This was like 2 years when I was talking to him 2 years ago. And it's like, how do we get out there? He said, well, you either have to find and convince people to let you try this based on samples of other people's work and saying like, hey, we can do this. He's like, that's a real hard sell. Like, people aren't going to give you money based on like, hey, we say we can do it. You have to be able to show it.
Right.
He's like, so you kind of just have to rally your team and whoever you got support and just kind of figure out like, hey, how do we do at least something in the vein of what we want to be doing so that we're stepping in the right direction. So like, hey, look, we want to be over here and we're kind of over here. So we're going to take a little step here with a self-promo piece and see if we can attract someone to pay us to take another little step and then, make your way over there.
Right.
So, that's definitely.
How often do you guys do that?
I try to do it as often as possible.
Really?
Yeah. So, but it's also still just like dealing with that dichotomy of like, this is the kind of work we want to be doing, and this is what's coming through. So we keep like tweaking our message, tweaking our, our brand, tweaking our self promo stuff. Like you saw that crazy like
The
like,
green one? Yeah.
the green man vine face thing. Like, I would love it if someone hired us to do that.
Right.
Like, they'd get a sick deal because I want to do that work.
Right.
Like, we probably put 40 plus hours into that, maybe more. Like, there's like, you know what I mean? We wouldn't charge full price for that even close. So if you want one of those cool ass photo manipulation illustrations, like, please let me know. We would have some fun with it. Anyways, yeah, we definitely keep pushing in that direction. So when I get when I take my free time, right? Because I'm an artist, right? But I don't get to do a lot of art because of the way we've grown the business. I definitely am always working on like a little project that like gets my feels right. That like I don't care if this amounts to anything other than like I got it done and it feels cool and I'm excited to do it, right?
Right.
So doing art for art's sake and then putting that through the business and seeing what happens.
I think my issue with that is that since I'm mostly into like video production and some photography, usually when I try to create something, it always requires some other piece. Even if I try to get some photos taken of myself, which I try to do that like once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I see that.
It's always me trying to find somebody that can shoot, that can actually just take the picture, but them being somewhat good. Like sometimes my wife does it, but sometimes she probably doesn't want to do it, and then it looks like she doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Or I have to shoot it myself.
You can't shoot and model. I guess you can.
But then I can't get angles and stuff that I want because I've tried to like set the camera up on the tripod, but it's always like it's not the greatest of pictures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we're doing some stuff here. Like I used to model when I was like 16 to like 19, and I got
Carl the model.
Yeah, dude. Back when I had some nice hair.
Right.
Man, but no, seriously. Dude, I'd be more than willing to help you out with that. And I know some people that would like love for you to shoot them.
Yeah.
But so that's how that works.
Right.
Just gotta open to your network, right? There's always people out there. You just gotta put out the call, right? Like that, like you don't want to be annoying and bother people, but there's always somebody that needs what you're doing, right? I think like somebody needs some shots because they want to break into the industry, and somebody needs, you can shoot. So you tell them like, hey, look, you can come be a piece of my shoot, but we're gonna do it how I want. Right.
And I've actually had that situation a lot. But I think the part that kind of not necessarily messing me up or kind of like deterred me from doing that is because every time I hit somebody up like, hey, I got this sick idea for something I want to do. It's a photo, it's a quick video. It's always like, I'm not ready, or like I wanted to shoot this one person went to high school with, known for a while. I was like, hey, I know that you're doing X, Y, and Z with your business. I saw a couple images that I like that I kind of want to duplicate and it was like, all right, well, I need to find models. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then after a while, it's like, once that goes past like a week or two, I'm moving on to the next thing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, like I had a friend who has like crazy like banana pudding. Shout out to Brittany. She's like great with banana pudding. She sells them out all the time. I was like, hey, let's do something where we put your banana pudding against a yellow background, a whole bunch of like yellow stuff behind it and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, she was like, yeah, we can do it. And it never happened. I'm talking to you, Brittany. So, yeah, it's like stuff like that happens. I'm like, and then it just deters me from like wanting to like get other people to do free work. Because it's like, I'm giving you a great project. I'm giving you something that you can use and help build your business for free. And it's like, if it doesn't happen right then, or we set like an actual date, then I'm gonna get busy and then I'm moving on to the next stuff. So I feel like those type of things always happen to me.
So that happens to me, right? Like that's always like I've been trying to like find other avenues. I really love this like photo manipulation, photo illustration thing. Like it's been a hard press to try to find people that want that, right? So like I've even been like, hey, look, I've tried to do some giveaways and stuff like that, but I think it's just a matter of just don't give up, right? You got to find the right person. And then you got to find the next right one. It's just got to build on itself, right? And it's just like, Gary Vee says, right? Like you just, like you got to be able to get just punched in the face a bunch, man. Like you just, like if it's.
I feel like I've been punched in my face with all my 20s.
Me too, bro. Me too.
God.
I was just talking to my wife about that, who is literally just calling right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
So like, have you?
Be tough as fuck, bro. You just gotta be tough. That's just what it is, right? Like, you have to be like the internal fortitude. losing's not an option. I had this old No Fear shirt, right, back in the day. Remember those?
Yeah, you know, fear. Yeah.
Losing is not an option, but like that's where you have to live. Like this is not for the faint of heart. This is in no way an easy thing. There's no get rich quick. You gotta put in your time. You gotta bust your balls. You gotta take 1,000 no's. You gotta take 1,000 yeah sure's that don't show up. You know, you just and you know, hopefully at the end of the day it's all worth it, right? Like, and I think it feels worth it. Like. I feel good, like even talking about it right now. Like, you know, like we were just talking, like I've been punched in the face a lot this past month. Like my face is bloody. Y'all can't tell right now because I'm putting on the smiling face, but it ain't been all smiles. Right. So I mean, if you're offering this dope shoot of some pudding that like would really be cool, like and I think that I totally get that super high color. Like imagine that on Instagram, that'd be sick. And like have your whole page doing cool shit like that. Right. Like if unfortunately if she doesn't see the value in that. And you know, if you don't see the value, like you got to move to the next one, right? You know, and then you know when you shoot some pudding for somebody else and it looks super dope, and it wasn't her pudding, like she missed out. Right. And that's unfortunate. I'm sure she's your friend, and like yeah. She's a good person, but I'm sure that pudding's amazing. So, maybe you just grab the pudding. Right, just go get the pudding, shoot it however the fuck you want, send her the pictures, and she either likes them or she doesn't. I imagine they're gonna be super dope, and she'll be like, sorry I didn't participate more in this. And then when you want to do the next one, she's gonna be showing up with like these different spreads of pudding and all these things. You know, sometimes you just gotta put in the whole effort. But it also is that worth, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? You gotta value your time.
Okay. All right, so our original conversation was gonna be about just struggles as an entrepreneur. I faced a lot of struggles. I feel like my first, like from 25 until like 30 was all struggle. Yeah. Like I was broke. I was trying to figure things out in this entrepreneur world. I was trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. Actually, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to get there. Yeah. So like what struggles did you face actually like starting out?
So struggling, dude, I struggle all the time. Like I think like every 2 years, my wife and I have a conversation about like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure, dude. Like we still are absolutely growing and expanding and hit cash flow crunches and like all the things like. And
do you even have those conversations while you're like building? Because it seems like over the past couple of years, just from the outside looking in, that you're kind of scaling and you're bringing on more people and getting, you know.
We always put your best face forward, right? Like you got
True.
to. Like,
True.
Like I said, like literally, like I would, you know, it is a roller coaster. Right. There are months when we have so much money in the bank, like I will lose. Like there are days when we close like 30 grand in one day, and I'm just like, holy shit, you know. And that's like, we're never gonna have a problem again, you know. Like, and that's going through, and that's like, no, like, you know. And then we get into like the slow seasons, and it's just like I'm putting money in the business, right? Like so. The cash flow struggle has always been hard for me, and you know, figuring out like what I don't know was the biggest thing, right? Like, because when you start off, like a lot of people, I imagine, I know I was like, oh yeah, it's super easy. Like you just work real hard and you get sales, and like you just don't buy anything till you can afford it, and like. But it's like sometimes you need things that you can't afford, but like you got to get over that hump, and like just you have to be so creative sometimes. Yeah. It's just like. Leveraging relationships is that's really what it boils down to for me. I think like, you know, sometimes it just feels like straight luck. You know, I say this a lot too, like the universe just wants us to succeed, right? Like like in your darkest moment, the next day something beautiful happens. And it's like, oh, we're cool. We got this. Yeah. Like we're good. You know what I mean? But like literally last night, I wanted to punch the wall. Like I wanted to cry, you know? And it's like you wake up in the morning, you get that phone call. It's just like, hey, we need blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, holy shit, like how did this work? So just dealing with that and like being strong enough to know that like, hey, look, you got to rock with the waves here. Like, you know what I mean? But you got to plan. You got to strategize, but there's you're always going to be like, oh, we're going this way, and boo, like something just hits you out of nowhere, and you have to be resilient.
I'm watching Game of Thrones, so that reminds me of Winter is Coming.
Oh, Winter's Coming.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm jealous that you're watching Game of Thrones now because I'm like doing like a HBO bender on that would be so amazing. But I've literally watched every episode the night it aired.
Oh, really?
Yeah, since the first one. Like,
okay.
I knew this was gonna be right up my alley. Like, we were into True Blood at the time. And like, so we're like, what's this new show? And I watched the trailer. I was like, babe, holy shit, this is like the next Lord of the Rings. And like,
I can't front. Like, when I first started, I was like, yeah, this probably isn't gonna be for me, and I wasn't gonna like it. My wife started watching it probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I would catch bits and pieces of it, and I'm like, yeah, it's a lot going on. And then I actually started watching it myself, like by myself, like last Thursday or Friday. And I'm like all the way in. I'm like the middle of season 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Khaleesi just had her dragons, and it's like getting wild. So
bro,
I'm into it.
That is a modern masterpiece.
It is.
It is. Like, they are crushing it. I'm super sad that
it's the last season.
Is the last season.
Yeah.
But they're gonna do a bunch of spin-offs, and like, if I want to be a part of some of this, I want to put my whole team behind some piece of one of the spin-offs. Like that title sequence that Elastic did has like inspired me for years to like, we can do some cool shit like this. Like, every time I watch it, I'm like, man, like I get hyped to like go to work on Monday.
Right.
Anytime I watch a Game of Thrones episode, like it literally gets me like, oh dude, that was so sick, and I love how like all the clockwork little pieces and the music, and just like Elastic destroyed that. Like, you know, and I've talked to some, you know, that's like the top end of like motion graphics and animation in the industry right now. Like they're the top, one of the top, if not the top. And I've talked to some guys that are in like the top 15, and they're like, the industry is crazy right now. Like, guys like Elastic, they're going to be good. You know, Imaginary Forces are probably going to be fine. Like, companies like that. But he's like, it's the squeeze is tight up there. You know,
I bet.
You know, he even told me straight up. He's like, yeah. He's like, we've been climbing this mountain to, you know, get to the dragon. He's like, the dragon's elusive, and at the top of the mountain, there's no air. And I was like, oh. So that got me thinking, you know, a lot of different pieces about that. But anyways, Game of Thrones is amazing. You know.
We were talking about struggles. I did have a question, a follow-up question, but I'm going to say that for a little bit later.
Okay. Struggles, hiring has always been a struggle, right? Like, how do you decide who's the right fit for your organization? Figure out what your company cultures and your needs are. Like, when the first couple people I hired was just like anybody willing to try to do the job, right? Like, because I felt like I had to get my mindset into a position where, like, if someone that doesn't join this, if someone, 2 steps back from that, I was taking anybody, and like people were just randomly not working out.
Yeah.
I think I counted the other day, like we've had like 30 employees. Like, that's crazy because we have a small staff. Right. But like bringing in people and figuring out how they work and what does and doesn't work, but like, I was always like selling the dream to my clients of what I wanted to do, and my wife and my friends and the people. Like, I sat down with one of the people that, you know, did some mentoring with me, you know, Matt Sin, and he gave me this little nugget, and I find like sitting down with entrepreneurs, especially ones that you consider to be more successful than you, or at least more experienced, because like you and I are the same age, we've been doing the same hustle, and you kind of said to me like you looked at me for some advice, like you're talking about your background, doing the same thing in my head, like, oh, I got to talk to Shad about how does he do this? How does he do that? Because we have different walks, so we have different experience. So, but anyways, you know, I was talking to Matt Sin, and he told me, he's like, look, Carl, he's like, you got to sell your dream to the people on your staff, like to your employees, to the people that are helping you get there. Because if they don't know the dream, if they're not on board with the same big vision, like, that's a huge missed opportunity. You're losing all that synergy of them like pushing behind you, like, hey, we're going there, remember?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when you start to get lost in the woods and go, oh, I just need to take all this money because we're no. Well, that's cool, but like we gotta tailor this to the vision, or it doesn't work.
Okay.
Because if you keep taking shit that's not going the right way, you're going the wrong way.
True.
That's just the nature of the beast.
You're right about that.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're climbing a wall and you're trying to get up there, like, yeah, you can grab a hold that's over here.
Sooner or later, you're all the way over there.
You got to push yourself this way, right?
Right.
Like, you got to be pushing back in the right direction, even though you kind of had to reach out of your lane a little bit.
Okay.
You know, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So building the right team has been a huge struggle, and then building the brand to reflect where you want to go, and then bringing those people in to support that brand, and bringing in the right clients to support that brand, that ultimately comes from introspection. Knowing what really gets you out of bed, what is really like the least work version of your work, where can you dump all of your passion and infuse that in, and but you have to have the right people to support that and the right clients to support that, and
Okay.
then you can build that vertical.
Okay, so I'm actually going through the process now of where my workload is crazy, as we talked about. Like, I'm doing a lot right now, and it's really just me. It's me, sort of. So I'm actually talking with somebody who's been, trying to come into my company for the past year, and bring him on to do sales, because I'm not a salesman. He's a salesman, but he also understands business. So me and him have been talking about about him coming in, like, pretty much working within the company. So, and we're still trying to figure that out, what that actually looks like. But from your standpoint, who was your first employee? Well, I can say who, but what was the role of your first employee?
Yeah.
And if you could do things differently, would that still be the same role that you'll hire to begin with? Or would you try to hire like another role, if that question makes sense?
Yeah, so, knowing my skill sets, right, like what I'm really good at, I'm really creative.
Right.
I'm a quality designer. I think I'm probably an even better illustrator than designer, but I kind of flip those around a little bit here and there. It just depends on what we're working on. Not the best illustrator or designer in my company at this point, which is nice. So that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People better than me,
right.
I honestly don't remember which came first, but it was right around the same time. I want to say, you know what? The first person I hired was a designer.
Really?
Good dude. I met him on Craigslist or something, like buying a little thing or whatever. And he worked out for a while. He nothing ever went wrong with him, other than like Friday, at the end of a Friday shift, he's like, "Hey man, I got another job." And he was out on Monday.
Right.
And like everything just fell back onto my plate.
Yeah.
Which is what it is. Like, I wasn't able to pay him a lot. Like,
right.
He definitely wasn't making like a lot of money, and he had some skills, and I'm pretty sure he still is a graphic designer. So I would say, like, I don't know if I did anything wrong there, other than like just did what I had to do and brought in a designer and helped kind of do some things. I think at that point, where I didn't do anything wrong as far as the hiring side. The internal structure side, though, like, you have to bring in, you got to set the expectations, right? You have to know, like, hey, look, all right, I'm bringing you onto the company and I expect you to do X, Y, and Z, all right? There also may be some structural needs that I don't have. Like, you either have to make those, like, hey, when you complete a file, the file names need to be A, B, C, they need to be in this format, they need to be in these filing configurations and these, because, like, that was a huge problem for my business. As I started bringing in talent, everything was a mess. Like, you go in there, like, the folders are a hot mess. Like, you're lucky if it's in the client folder name. And then inside of it, there's just, like, 75 files that are just, like, and then, like, when a client hits you up, like, a year later, it's like, it should be easy. Oh, yeah, I got your stuff here. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know where that guy works anymore. And I haven't talked to him forever. And he don't have the files. And, like, the fonts aren't in there. And it's not updated. Like, so that was a struggle when we first started, like, just having systems.
Okay.
Right, so that was a big thing that I did a business development class this past year with the state of Virginia called Scaling for Growth, which is amazing, by the way, and it was a huge focus on systems and processes and, like, making sure that, like, you know exactly what's going on, you can check in on all the things, but you should be able to create a process that doesn't require you to do all of it. Like, you can just check and make sure that it's done right.
Right.
And that way, you can onboard Fred. Fred can take in from where Joe was, and Fred just jumps right in, reads the document, understands the process and procedures, and knows exactly where to find everything.
Okay.
And ideally, all that's intuitive anyways. Like,
right.
So that's,
So the second part of my question was, if you can pretty much go back in time, would you would have hired a designer first, or would you have hired an assistant, a salesperson? Like,
I don't think that, I don't know, there's no, like, lane, right? Like, there's no, like, this is how you do it, right? Does that make sense? It's like, there's no instruction manual. You have to look at what you're good at, be very introspective, because, if you're the whole company right now, you have to go, all right, look, it's finding your lane in the business.
Right.
Like, let's keep it on theme for the whole.
Right.
Like, what is your lane as an individual, right? Like you said, I'm not good at sales. Well, yes and no, right? Like, you might not be good at cold calls. Like, if someone calls and needs some shit from you have no problem talking to them about it. Right. And talking about the creative vision. And so just figuring out, like, hey, what are the things that really drain me? Right? Hire for that first. Right?
True.
So that you get more of your energy back. Like, you take away 4 hours of like, oh my God, a week, and how much more can the business benefit from those more 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
Because that, like, the things that invigorate you. Like, I went to a trade show with 2 people from AIGA. It was a national convention, whatever. So it was a national leadership convention for AIGA. And it's like, you know, I was talking to one of our members that was our president that was there with me, and she's like, yeah, your superpower is just making friends and talking to people. She's like, collectively, there's 3 of us that went, but collectively, the 2 of us that went made like 10 connections. She's like, I was like, yeah, like, I made 60. Like, and I was like flying around on a cloud, having a blast.
Right.
I stayed up all night till 6 a.m. one night, like, and I was just like enthralled with like meeting new creative people, and like, you know, it's all like kind of a little taken back at first about like, oh, I should be a little conservative, like, these are professional people, they're all fucking nuts, like, we're all crazy, like, creative people have this vein of like wanting to be different, like wanting to stand out, like not like non-conformity. So like it's almost like no holds bars, like everybody was just wide open. It was amazing, like it was a great experience. Because, like, literally,
I need something like that.
Nobody gave a fuck, like, in the best sort of way. Like, we care about the things that we find important and all that sort. But nobody was trying to be somebody they're not. Nobody was trying to, like, oh, well, like, I'm super, like, you know. And if those people were there, they went to bed like right at 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just really cool. But like, so to answer your question, just finding your lane, being introspective, like, what are you good at? What motivates you? What gets you excited? What are the pieces that you really want to hold close? Hold those pieces close. Find somebody to do all the rest of the shit. And start with the...
I need an editor right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and throw it out there. I need a video editor, like
ASAP. Yeah, a video editor.
Yeah.
Right? So that someone that can go, all right, look, you get all the big pieces. Right? You direct this shoot. You're putting all this stuff together. And then you go, hey, look, man, I need you to capture the essence of this, cook it down, and bounce it off me, and I'll give you some feedback.
Yeah. That's exactly what I need.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it out there. If you're a dope video editor and you're looking for work, or, you know, I would love to have a conversation. You can send me an email at info@therebelsociety.com. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like, you know, a lot of the operational stuff is like I can do everything. I had to by necessity.
Right.
I had to figure out accounting. I had to learn QuickBooks. I had to learn how to all the things. Right? I had to learn HR rules, and I had to learn all those problems. But as we've grown, I've found the right people that like really thrive in those pieces. Right. Business stuff, and we have a very strong foundation right now. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I hope you will get an editor, man.
I definitely need one.
Do more of the front end creative stuff.
Right. Yeah, because with me, since a lot of my work is video work, it's usually like today I have to, like, after I leave here, I have to shoot a music video. So that's probably like 5-6 hours of me shooting. And then I have to edit it. I have to edit other videos I have, and it's just a lot.
So we really, on our list, like, we want to do more entertainment-based stuff. Right? Like, we want to do a music video.
Right.
But we want to do something where we can add in, like, have you seen like Bruno Mars's music video where he's like dancing around?
The lines coming in.
Yeah. Like, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, so that's like, we should work on a project like that together.
I'm definitely with it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely down.
Okay, so so.
All right, so let people know where they can find you at.
Yeah, so you guys can look us up at epic-made.com. So it's EPIC-MADE.com. We also, you know, we're on Instagram, EpicMade, Facebook /EpicMade. Those are the only channels we really push.
Yeah.
And we got a couple other parts, but we don't use them. So. Or you can email me, Carl, CARL, @getepicmade.com.
All right. And once again, I'm Shy Harris of the Rebel Society. You can find me everywhere at Shy Harris or therebelsociety.com. Instagram is the Rebel Society XXV. And I'm Shy Harris, so SHODHARRIS on Instagram. So this is another episode of Createaholics. I guess we're going to try to do this again next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Keep it up.
All right, so.
Yeah, bro.